And testing.
Good evening, this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, WW7ATS. The Western Washington Amateur Television Society is a group of amateur radio enthusiasts that take to the airways with fast scan television. We have a repeater located up on Cougar Mountain. We transmit on 70 centimeters. It's a crossband repeater. It spits out images at 1.2 gigahertz. To find out more about the Western Washington Amateur Television Society, please Google WW7ATS. That's Google WW7ATS. That will take you to our homepage on the internet where you'll see a little information about our group and the exact frequencies we receive and transmit on. Also, we'd like to thank the SeaTac Repeater Association for letting us use WW7STR's repeater 147.08 with a specific tone of 103.5 for Cougar Mountain. Again, that tone is the special tone for this net, 103.5 for Cougar Mountain. So at this point I'll pause in case anybody has emergency traffic or needs to make a contact before the net gets fully underway. This is Dave, KD7CYM. Hearing none, again, welcome to the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. I'm Dave, KD7CYM. Signed in via video links are Ron, KD7QKU, Bert, N7CS, Bob, K9PQ, Richard, K7ITX, Jim, N7QO, and myself, Dave, KD7CYM. If there's anybody else who would like to check into the net. None, we'll get the net rolling. Let's start with Ron, KD7QKU in Tacoma.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Dave. Good evening to the group. This is KD7QKU. Well, let's see. They called me yesterday, I guess it was, and told me that my motorhome would be the next one up, I guess, to get into the shop, so they'll figure out what's wrong with the brakes, and then maybe I can work out a deal with them and get it sold. I'd be happy to get that done. We've been here, over 2 years now, and we haven't gone to church since we've been here. First it was COVID, I guess, and then we moved, and so there's a couple of Lutheran churches. We usually go to a Lutheran church. There's one over by, they call it St. Mark's, by the Narrows. It's a really nice big church. And then there's another one a little bit east of us. It's called Emmanuel Lutheran Church. Been here a long time. So Joanne's sister and brother-in-law go there. So we decided to go there for Monday, Thursday, and Good Friday, so we did. Met him there. Evening Christmas. It's a nice church. Old church, but well cared for. 2 parking lots. Nice pastor. Well, we listened to the pastor on TV quite a bit on Sundays over the last couple of years, so we kind of know him. I saw him. We were actually checking out the park, and we'd never driven into where the church was exactly. And he happened to be standing on the front steps with his dog. He's letting his dog go to the ground. So I told him, Joanne was driving. I said, stop. I'm going to go say hello to him. So I went over and said hello to him. So I told him I knew who he was, but he didn't know who I was. I listened to him quite a bit on the computer, on YouTube. They show their services. So anyway, that's about what's been going on. We did clean up the patio a little bit. We're having company. Wiped off everything. We've pollen and dust blows, and it's amazing. It's closed in except for one end, so it's under the roof of the house. So it's like part of the house. And so one side, the back side is the house, and the right side is the house. With a patio door coming out, and then it's glassed in the front and open on the north end, and still the junk blows in. It's amazing. Even the birds come in. There was bird poop on my barbecue. Why that happens is beyond me. But anyway, I cleaned that up a little bit today. We went to the store and bought a ham yesterday, and we're going to have ham for dinner. Small group to get together. So anyway, that's what's going on over here in Tacoma, Baker's house. Back to that KD7QKU.
QKU, thanks for that report. Well, stranger come back. Welcome back, Bert, N7CS. Get his feet back on the ground here in this area. So what say you, Bert, N7CS?
Hopefully you can hear me. I plugged my radio back in. Okay, good. I'm getting a thumbs up. So yeah, I've been out cruising on ships since early January. I think it's been 11 cruises that I've been on since I've been back home. So I just got home a couple days ago, but I'm leaving on the next cruise, I think on Tuesday or Wednesday. But yeah, I did cruises out of Galveston, out of Baltimore, Port Canaveral, and New York. A few particular notes. The one I did out of Baltimore sailed right under that bridge a couple of times that collapsed. So it was because I sailed under it. I did 2 trips out of Baltimore, so going in and out, and then so I did that twice. So I probably sailed under that bridge 4 times. Not the last ship to do it, but because that was back in February, I think, that I did. So, but yeah, that was like really big. I was kind of shocked when I saw that news the other day. And then when I was in Port Canaveral, I was luckily there a night where I got to see a rocket launch. And it was very interesting because it was one of the rocket launches where the landing booster came back down to Cape Canaveral. So I got to see the booster come down. This was at night, and I was expecting the sonic boom because I heard when it comes in for landing, there's a sonic boom. And I was ready for it, and when it happened, it was so much louder than I was expecting. I almost dropped my phone, and I don't know if any of you saw the video I had on Facebook, but it was like everything was shaking. It was like if a bolt of lightning just like hit right next to me with thunder. It was so loud. I thought it was just going to be like a boom, boom, like in the distance. But it was like thunder crashing right next to me sound. But anyway, that's 2 minutes. So this is Bert in Marysville and 7CS back to net.
Thank you, Bert. Let's go to Bob, K9PQ.
Okay, Dave, let me switch over the video. Excuse me just a second. So I texted James, WW7N, he did try to check in just before the net. I thought I recognized his voice, but his call sign didn't come through, so please add him to the list. Let's see. Ron, yeah, the birds. I don't know with birds. It seems like they aim for stuff. They aim for the stuff that you don't want them to aim for. They seem to specialize in that for some reason. I don't get it, but I have experienced that. And Bert, it's good to see your face and good to have you in your lab there. It looks more like a lab than an office. It's very cool. And let's see, I had quite an eventful day today. I went up to the repeater and replaced the battery in our UPS. So that is now taken care of. And amazingly, when I turned the power back on, everything worked, including the computer. So it was a good day. And I took the long way home, went around the east side of Lake Sammamish, where my grandparents, actually before my parents, and then my parents had lakefront property, and this was back, especially my grandmother, when they got it. I believe it was about $2,000 for and to give you an idea, there was just a little tiny cabin on it, a little tiny cottage, let's say, nothing fancy at all. As I recall, on the original deed of sale, because her brother or sister or some relation like that had first bought it, it was too far away from Seattle for them, so they sold it to my grandfather and grandmother. And the little cottage, the little, really frankly kind of cheap cottage on it, was worth more than the land at that time. So it's how times have changed. Now there's this monstrosity of a home there, but I did visit a neighbor that we got to know when we would go out there. When my parents, nobody ever lived there full time. I mean, a few cousins did in their early 20s, kind of using it as a shack to live in, but generally it was only a summer place, and my parents used it that way as well. And I had been going there since I was a very small child. It was nice to visit with the neighbors and get to see the water. And I actually, the picture that I'm showing, the still picture I'm showing, he said, go ahead and walk over. They're down in Tucson right now. I won't call the police on you. Go ahead and walk over to their yard and you can take some pictures and see the view from how it used to be when you were going there. So when you look at the still picture, that's looking out at the lake from where it used to be our yard. Now, our yard was, the dock has not changed. Everything else has changed. So all of the beautiful patio and the palm trees and that sort of stuff is all new. It was much more simple in our day, but we had a lot of fun. I have other news too, but I'll leave that for the next time. So I will send it back. K9PQ.
Thanks for that. And it's time for a little ID. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. On the 08 machine, I'm Dave, KD7CYM. Well, welcome back from Arizona. Richard, K7ITX. What say you?
Yeah, hi everyone. Good. Hope you can hear me okay. All right, sounds like a plan. But welcome back, Bert. Great. And man, all of a sudden, he's just full of fantastic stories, too. Geez, that sonic boom with the rocket coming down for a landing, man, I don't know. I mean, I've been real close to, a lightning bolt, within a block from a lightning bolt, and that was like a hand grenade going off, right? You wanted to just hit the dirt. That's how yours kind of sounded like. And then the bridge, that's kind of tempting fate almost. but I know what that's like. Just think, or any of us, but particularly myself, I used to commute from West Seattle to Redmond for 6 years, and I went across the I-90 floating bridge, the old one, and I don't know if you probably weren't here, Bert, but having gone across that 100 times, and then to have it sink, on Thanksgiving weekend, and never to be crossed again. Oh, wait a minute. Well, but then the old one sank, but then the new one was there, and then they had to tie tugboats to the new one so it wouldn't sink because the old bridge tore out the anchor line. So these bridges sometimes it doesn't take much, but to blow on them, like of course the Narrows Bridge and Galpin Gertie, or how about even Hood's Canal Bridge. So we have a sad story for bridges in Washington State. So I guess Maryland can count themselves in and move right along with Washington. Very much, Bob, for changing out the battery for the repeater. I really appreciate your help on that. And let's see. I was in Phoenix, and gosh, I'm getting ready for a dog and cat fight, but we'll wait for that to happen. They're really happy that we're home. But yeah, I called an old high school buddy in Phoenix, and when we were on the phone, I just to double check, make sure he was by himself, because we used to have the same girlfriend, and so I didn't want to talk about that with our wives around, So that's how I remembered him. You remembered him because about 9 years ago, really old neighborhood buddy of ours just passed away unexpectedly, and we're still in a state of shock over that. So let's see. Before I go away, I had a couple pictures I was going to put up on the screen here. Stand by. So, Debbie took these nice pictures that I've got here, flying down. Beautiful weather out, and this is just right outside the airplane window. I don't know, I probably don't need to tell you what it's a picture of. I mean, this is only the second time in real life that I've ever got to see it. First time about 15 years ago. Of course, we didn't have cameras like we do now, or at least I didn't. And then, okay, hey, you guys, geez, cool it. All right. And so, I told her to take some good pictures. This is going to be great. And so I think she did a great job. It's just amazing. When you see these in real life, it's not that hard to understand how people can get lost forever. They get in there and they don't come out, and then they die of thirst or something. So it's a pretty intense situation when and they fly, pretty low. So you're definitely not at 30 or 40,000 feet. It seems like you're closer to 20 or a little under 20, maybe even 15,000, because you are beginning your approach to Phoenix. So anyway, I just thought it'd be fun to show you guys this. This is K7ITX, back to net control.
WW7ATS, thanks for that. Let's go to Jim, N7QO.
N7QO, thank you, Dave. Good evening, everyone. Well, let's see. Ron, church by way of YouTube. Yeah, our church did that as well. That was really kind of useful. I think a lot of people have grown fond of that, and it certainly helped, especially during the pandemic. They tried to space out people who would show up. For a while, they were exclusively doing service over YouTube, but then eventually they allowed people back in, but you had to have like a certain distance between people. So that was kind of cool, but like you said, the minister can be there and not really know anyone. We had a new fellow show up because our old fellow retired, and so we kind of had a similar experience. It's the guy, yeah, are you one of the parishioners? Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, I send you money every week. And wow, your patio, it sounds like you need to screen off that one end. I don't know, there's got to be an easy way to accomplish that, relatively easy and inexpensive, I would think. Just some screen material and an aluminum frame. Might be a little fragile until you get it mounted in position, but that's what I would try to do. Bert, welcome back. It's good to see you. Yeah, I've heard sonic booms before as well, but it's always been in the distance. I would never have expected something, a big kablam like that. That's interesting. Bob, thanks for doing the UPS battery. Appreciate that. Good work. And the Lake Sammamish property, yeah, that's... there was one time my wife and I went and looked at some properties where we grew up. Yeah, what can I say about that? Did it bring back fond memories? I don't know. It's like, yeah, been there, done that. See ya. but it was interesting anyway. Dick, welcome back. We saw Pippa as you're sitting there talking to us on the mic, and we saw Pippa coming on your side, and then I'm thinking, okay, Debbie must not be home if Pippa's there, but I don't know. We heard the little ruckus that your pets had. Are they glad to see each other or not? Interesting. And on the pictures, yeah, thanks for those pictures. I'm constantly amazed flying around this country how much nothing or how much empty space there is in this country. I'm not sure how much could readily be inhabited if you're looking for water or other utilities, but a lot of nothing out there, and the mountains are especially inhospitable to population. I don't know how, like the Incas and that did it, building fortresses on top of mountains or something like that, or like in Israel, Masada. How did they do some of that stuff way back when? I don't know. It confounds me. But anyway, cool pictures. Thanks for that. There's one time, let me reset. Okay, Mr. Ideer did not say something. One time, I was flying out there and flew over the giant meteor crater, and that is like, wow. Seeing that from an airplane, it stands out. It's really kind of obvious. That was pretty exciting. But anyway, thanks for that. Back to you, Dave, N7QO.
Oh, let's go to James, WU7N.
Well, thank you, Dave. This is James, WU7N in Northeast Bellevue. So, first off, anybody who is trying to use any clever approaches to decode the NTSC picture on 1.2 gigahertz, it is an excellent night. This is the best picture I've seen coming off 1.2 in a very long time. It is a solid 5, rock-stable, excellent color signal. So if you're experimenting around with different ways to decode that analog signal, this is a good night to go for it. You're talking about going to church. I just in the financial press, I read that Heaven Incorporated was consolidating and cost cutting and moving personnel around like everybody is these days. So they were proposing, that if you only go to church 2 days out of the year, then when you die and go to heaven, you only get to be in heaven 2 days out of the year. And the other 363 days, you have to make other spiritual accommodations in the afterlife. I don't know if they're going to go through on that, or if it's like there's rollover days, like cell phone minutes. I don't know how that works, but so that's something for us all to think ahead on. So many changes are afoot in the next few years. Best subtle humor I saw about the bridge, I guess we're to the point where we can laugh about it now, is I saw on Twitter or X or whatever they call it now, this statement that said, "I have absolute evidence that Hillary Clinton is guilty of multiple felonies and can go to jail for the rest of her life once I release this information." And it was signed, the Boston Bridge. So I thought that was funny. Oh, well, anyway. Yes, sonic booms. It's kind of interesting how people, view sonic booms. The space shuttle made a big sonic boom all over the southeastern United States, but it was always, during high point, broad daylight. And so people would just go like, yeah, that's America's space shuttle. And even though it was pretty loud, nobody ever, complained about it or anything. And I think, during the Cold War, there were sonic booms, certainly in the Pacific Northwest when I was a kid. And everybody said, oh, yeah, those starfighters are out there flying around. Someone's, defending America. But now, the big impediment to commercial transport that's supersonic is, of course, that big, loud boom. But someone has got a design of an aircraft now that puts the engine on top and has a huge, big wing structure. It's almost like a flying wing-looking thing. And they say that it's supposed, the marketing department is saying, no, it's no longer a big, loud boom. It's sort of a thump-thump. But I think they're going to have to build one and test it and then scale it up and see how it really works. Because when you consider the number of airliners flying around during daylight hours in the continental United States, that would be a lot of thump-thumps. They can't be very loud, or that would be pretty intrusive, especially on the afternoon nav crowd. Let's see, and Bob, you're talking about views. I tell you what is amazing in the Pacific Northwest is how fast the trees grow. I was looking at some old Nike launch site pictures, and I found one. I said, well, this can't be right. And all of a sudden, I had to laugh at myself. Well, they cut all the trees down back in the 1950s so that they would have a clear view for they had to have something like 3 radars, a command and control, a search radar, and a guidance radar, I think. And so they couldn't do that through the trees with the frequencies they operated at. But now, decades later, they've got these huge, big pine trees growing all over the place in the same spot, and you have to go look for the concrete pads that had the radars on them. So I know, I think I had a little bit more of a view now. I have a view of a dense forest out my back upper window, and I can't see Cougar Mountain. So I'm putting my signal right through the trees, and pretty dense trees. But other than that, I have line of sight. Well, thank you very much for installing that battery. I'll get that document to you. Sorry, that kind of slipped through the cracks with all the excitement I've been having. And let me just say also, thank you very much for the pictures, Bert, and the interesting stories, too. It sounds like Oh, the other thing about rocket launches at night, if they're, you know, burning liquid fuels, is how bright they are. I don't know if you noticed that, or it's just like everything lights up, especially if your eyes are kind of adapted to the night. That is also a big surprise too. Anyway, this is James, WW7N, half past the hour with the Western Washington Amateur Television Society. Let's turn it back to our net control, Dave. Go ahead, Dave.
And thanks for that. This is Dave, KD7ZYM. Oh my, the net's full of a lot of excitement tonight. Let's see, for me, the last couple of days I had to go get a driver's license. I was surprised. I'm figuring you have to go in person. It's one of these things, you go in the door, you take a number, you sit for a half hour, wait till they call a number, and then you go over to the window and get your business done. Well, I went to this Linwood Center, walked in the door, they gave me a number. Before I even got a chance to get to the chair, they called the number for window 8. So away I went to get my license. And it was kind of interesting. It just updated my personal information, but I was surprised I didn't have to do a vision test. That's certainly always been the thing in the past. But I passed with flying colors, I guess. I could see, I guess, so I guess that's that passed the exam. That was pretty good. And let's see, gone to Costco, did some errands around, and let's see, a Zoom update happened just before the net, so things are moving around. I did have an interesting thing. I bought some Japanese barbecue sauce. It was very well advertised for Costco, so I tried it out. It was more like teriyaki sauce. I was kind of disappointed. I don't know what flavor I was expecting, but definitely was not barbecue sauce as I'm aware of and used in the past. So I would recommend it if you had teriyaki. It would be good to put on the teriyaki and noodles. So that was about it. And with Ron, oh my, birds being able to do their thing on your patio, that's always happened. And sonic boom, I imagine you don't have too many sonic booms on those cruise ships that are going on. So quite a change in your direction of hearing anyway, what was going on. So that's pretty exciting. And Bob, get a chance to go see a cabin from your childhood days. And yes, and thanks for getting the batteries installed up at the site. That's always great. And Richard, thanks for the pictures of the Grand Canyon. Oh my gosh, they did look beautiful. And Jim, oh my, glad to see that you're with us tonight and having a good time. And I liked your comment about flying over a huge crater, being able to see that from the air and how much area that it took off. So that's pretty good. And James, with trees growing up so rapidly everywhere that in the last few years, how fast they do grow. But at least you were able to find the cement pads anyway, where the radar towers were at one time anchored into. So at least you got a chance to renew a point of history. Always great to do that. Well, this is Dave, KD7ZYM in Lake City, and this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. Well, let's go back up to Ron, KD7QKU.
Okay, KD7QKU here again. Well, that was interesting. I thought about sonic boom too. I don't know that I've ever heard one. You know, maybe I've heard it and I didn't know what it was. Maybe I just heard some noise off in the distance or something. So I haven't really experienced that. But I've heard lightning. I've been up in the mountains when I thought, you know, the tent was going to fall down or something. The ground almost shook. It thundered so hard. So the lightning had to be close. And thanks, Bob, for going up and getting the battery taken care of. We all appreciate that. And thanks for the pictures, Richard. And for talking about the I-90 bridge, that brought back old memories because we were hunting and I was on top of a mountain. And I was in the pickup and I decided I'd turn the radio on. And I got Cairo or someplace and they talked about the I-90 bridge had sunk and I couldn't hardly believe it. So when I got back to camp that night, I told the guys that I had the radio on and heard that the I-90 bridge sunk and they thought it was like an April Fool's joke or something. Somebody was, pulling a fast one on the radio or something. Then when we got home, sure enough, the bridge was gone. So we couldn't believe it, hardly. And let's see what else is going on. Oh, those trees behind your house, James, you're going to have to do something about that. You're going to have to figure out the one that you have a path. And you're going to have, I don't know, I've heard you could drive copper nails in them and it would kill them, but I don't know if that's true or not. But you could probably do something. Drill a hole in it and pour in some killer or some kind. I don't know what you could do to get rid of it. Or top it or something so that you can see over it. Just the one. You don't have to take them all out. Just one probably. I've been to your house, I guess, but I didn't remember what the trees were like in back. So let's see. I don't know what else is hardly going on. My brother-in-law, was making those wooden coffins. He hasn't sold one yet. He's been trying. And when I saw him last time, he was worried about the bottom. Might fall out of it. I guess they woke up in the middle of the night and had cold sweat that they were, carrying the coffin in. The pallbearers were, and the bottom fell out or something. But it's made out of solid wood. He made it out of like pine lumber, and glued it all together. I mean, he did a beautiful job. So he decided that he had to put some reinforcement in the bottom. So he put in some slats and stuff, and some more glue and screws and everything. So he's pretty sure now that when they're carrying it, if he ever sells one and they're carrying it up the steps or someplace, the bottom's not going to come out. So I don't know. I asked him how much his coffins weighed, and he didn't know. It might be so heavy they couldn't carry him up the steps. I don't know. I sure wish he would find a way to get rid of them, but I don't know if that's going to happen. Every now and then he gets mad and says he's going to cut them up, burn them for firewood, so I don't know. So let's see, that's about it over here. Haven't gone any place or done anything other than shopping. That's, went to the grocery store or post office or something. Not too much excitement over here. They did come and mow my lawn on Thursday, so it's all mowed nice for Easter. And my son and daughter-in-law are coming, and her parents are coming, and that's about it. We invited a granddaughter and her significant other, and they have a little boy, but we haven't heard from them, so I don't know if they're coming or not. So anyway, back to net, KD7QKU.
KU. Let's go to Bert, N7CS in Marysville.
Okay, let me see if I can share my screen here. Oh, it's been so long I've forgotten how to do this. Let's see, share screen and Facebook. Share that. Okay, so maybe you can see this. So this is me about to go under the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore. So I've got a couple of pictures here just doing that. Let's go to the next one. That's just a different angle of the bridge. The bridge looks a lot bigger, like when you're going under it, than it does in all those pictures you see on TV of it recently. And then another one there. So this is actually the first of 4 times I went under it. I didn't take any pictures the other 3 times because I didn't think I would need to. But yeah, so I did get a couple pictures of that, so I stopped the sharing there. But yeah, have a lot more. Oh, Dave mentioned Costco. I was in Costco earlier today, and I went and bought one of their new peanut butter chocolate pies. It was like $20, so kind of expensive, but it was very, very good. I've heard really good things about it, and it was. So very rich, so I don't think I'm going to be able to eat the whole thing before I head out on my next cruise. My next cruise is going to be heading down to LA to get on one of the Princess ships to go on a solar eclipse cruise. I believe Jessica is going to be on the same ship, her and Sylvia. So them and my wife and me, I guess we'll be having some fun down there, doing dinners and watching the eclipse. So that ought to be pretty fun. I'm flying in the day before. I think Jessica's flying in the day of, which is kind of scary to me. I don't like flying in the day of a cruise because there's always potential for delay and such, but let me let it drop for a second. And then, later in the year, I've got a bunch of other cruises coming up. I'm going to do a couple weeks in Alaska in April, again in May, and then 9 days in Alaska in August. I'll be doing Australia for about a month in June. I'll be doing some Canada and New England cruises for about a month in September. Then tentatively scheduled to go out to Singapore in October for a Trans-Pacific, and then Barcelona in November for a Transatlantic. Doesn't look like I'll be doing any Panama Canals this year. But yeah, and then what else have I been up to? Since I've been back, I've also been working on trying to get taxes out of the way, since those are going to be due pretty soon. Anyway, that's it for now. This is Bert in Marysville, and 7CS, back to that.
Yes, let's go to Bob, K9PQ in Bothell.
Well, hello again, guys. Wow, lots of stuff going on. I made a lot of notes here. I'm going to try and quick. Well, first of all, the big two are, first of all, Mario emailed me, and it was a little while ago. I have to apologize because I forgot it was after our net 2 weeks ago. So I just replied to him today, just remembered as I was doing other things and thought, oh my goodness, I need to reply to Mario. So it's very nice for him to reach out. He actually watched our that net 2 weeks ago, and said he was glad to see the activity going on up here, and I let him know that he came up a lot in our conversations, and that I was happy to hear from him. So if any of you want to get an email, I don't know if he changed his email address. I think he may have, so I can pass it around to the members here. Other thing is, the battery that came out of our UPS is 10 years old, and it's a lead-acid battery, but it's a deep cycle battery, right, as you would expect for UPS. And as far as I know, it's been kept on a nice float charge the whole 10 years. The bottom line being, I think it's still a good battery, and what it is actually it's 24 volts, and you can tell from the structure. It's down in the garage, so I didn't bring it to show on the net tonight, but you can tell it's two batteries, two 12-volt batteries connected in series, even though the connections are under a cover, but it has to be that. You can tell the two batteries are there, and that's how they would get the 24 volts. I'm thinking if anyone out there, any of you guys out there are interested, I think you might be able to use a couple of lead-acid batteries, 12-volt lead-acid batteries. I was looking for a place to recycle them, but if you guys think you could put them to use, so much the better. So just let me know. Let's see. So other quick notes. Jim mentioned a screen for Ron. Ron, I'm sure they make them. I think the ones that would be good, especially for birds, it wouldn't necessarily keep insects out, is, they have the ones on rollers, like with shades that roll up. So you can just roll down the screen when you're not using it, or when you want to have the screen down. And there goes Ron, so maybe he didn't catch that. I don't know. But let me break it out. Let's see. The giant meteor crater, that's really cool, Jim. That is really cool that you actually saw it. I mean, you see pictures of it, and it's just an amazing thing that, it wasn't until recently that anybody even suspected it was a giant crater, and it changed our whole view of what happened to the dinosaurs. And it reminded me of those figures that were made in the very high desert, I want to say in Chile, or it might have been Ecuador or someplace like that, Peru, where they were these so big that nobody knew knew what they were. There were just these very long lines that were created, and it wasn't until people flew over it in airplanes that they said, oh, these are figures. And it's like, how did they ever come up with that is, I find interesting. I have heard sonic booms in my life a couple of times, and like James, when I was young, and it was around here. I don't know what caused it. I think may have been the Blue Angels one time, way back in the day when they let them fly at supersonic speeds around over land, over near a city. But I do remember I've heard a couple, and I was pretty young at the time. What else do I have here? Really great pictures, Richard. I've never seen pictures quite like that of the Grand Canyon. That's just really cool. I like that. And James, the great signal, I'm attributing that to the brand new battery on the UPS. I think that's why we're getting a great signal out of the repeater tonight. And I think with that, I'll send it back. The K9PQ.
Okay, let's go to Richard. K7ATS in Kent.
Well, gosh, I don't know. I've kind of talked out, so to speak. I just got back about noon today, so it's just been kind of, and then I instantly took a 2-hour nap, so I'm really kind of in the dark in a lot of ways. It's kind of a shock to come back from 82 to 52 in such a quick moment, I mean, because that's how warm it was in Phoenix the last couple days. It was in the high 70s, low 80s, and then I saw 52 on the car thermometer, and I go, oh my goodness, this will take. But it was sunny, so it was nice to come back from sun to sun, and actually with this new drug I'm taking, and that makes me very photosensitive. I could only be outside really for about an hour, and that was in the shade in Phoenix. So when I move down there for a year in the near future, I see I'm going to be there in the hottest time of the year. I guess that would be July, August, September, and I guess I won't be going outside at all. That's for certain. But then after that, probably, I guess all the other months down there are actually pretty nice. And I know Dave, KD7ZOM goes down there when it isn't that hot. But they've had their fair share of rain, and in fact, it's probably pouring down rain down there right now, and they're going to be in the low 60s for Easter. So, even though we're getting nice weather up here, they're getting our crummy weather down there. So it's kind of interesting. Let's see. Ron, well, he's not there. So I was just going to say St. Mark's Lutheran Church that he was talking about. I know it well. It's in the Tacoma area where I grew up. I played in the brass choir at St. Mark's Lutheran. That was pretty cool to make some money in high school playing my trombone with, a couple trombones and a couple trumpets and a piano. And we played church music. We did that for Easter at St. Mark's, and we did it at St. Charles. St. Charles, that paid good back in 1970, 71. I think we were getting, it was like $30 an hour, and back then that might as well have been $300 an hour. So it was, but when my music teacher found out about the gig, I noticed that he had it the following year. So, which was fine because we were in over our heads. The music director, oh my God, he was looking for pros, and he didn't get them
trombone department. But I mean, he had us scared out of our wits. So by the time it was time for the service, we played fantastic. Ron isn't there, but I was just going to say, I could almost count on always hearing a sonic boom. Oh gosh, I must say, you know, usually in July of, you know, in July and Easter, Ellensburg in particular, I used to go to a horse ranch as a kid every year for camp, and I remember sonic booms were a regular thing there. We didn't know what they were, though. We always wondered, you know, I mean, was that thunder? But the skies were completely clear, so, but the people that lived around there, oh no, that's just a sonic boom. And then, yeah, of course, you could see, look, a little dot, little fire jet way up high, and you go, God, that little thing made that noise? And sure as heck, so I have to imagine Ron heard him, he just didn't know what he didn't bat an eye about it, so anyway, that's all I know. K7ITX, back to net control.
ITX, let's go to Jim, N7QO in Covington.
N7QO, thank you, Dave. Well, Jim, you were talking about Heaven Incorporated there. I thought what you were referring to is consolidation. A lot of congregations now are being actually closed down. They're apparently combining a couple of churches into one. They're not reducing by 50%, but I don't know, it maybe depends on the religion or whatever, but where we go, we're still not sure what's going to happen. They're supposed to announce, I think, this August what they're going to do, but a bunch of people are going to have to go a whole lot further to church than they used to. So I don't know. If they continue having service by way of YouTube, then they may see fewer participants at the church itself, and more online. They're doing that because they're losing staff, and also the charitable contributions are down. They're just not getting the cash flow that they used to have. So consolidating. Ron, the coffin, I will bet there are some special groups that might be particularly interested in the coffins, the all-wood coffins. You'd have to do some investigating. I don't know, certain religious groups maybe, possibly Native Americans. I don't know. So that might be worth investigating. Someone was talking about their lawn. My lawn, fortunately, is not growing yet here. I've got a whole bunch of bushes, and nothing seems to be growing yet. So I get to forego yard work for another month or so. I just have to keep cleaning out the gutters around here. Bert, that bridge, oh my goodness, thanks for the pictures. That's, what a tragedy. Man, I don't know how long it's going to take them to put up another bridge, but I would guess it's not even designed yet. So they're probably going to throw something together rather quickly and hope it works, and then slap it together, and hopefully it will last a long time. I don't know, but really bad. And cruises, busy. Have fun, enjoy yourself. We are going to miss you. thank you for checking in with the net when you have the opportunity to do so. I know a lot of times the internet coverage is rather sporadic, but we appreciate you seeing you. We appreciate seeing you, and I know it does frequently interfere with your dinner time or whatever time it is. So if you can't, we understand, but just to let you know, we all miss you. Bob, email from Mario. Thanks for mentioning that. Yeah, we haven't heard from him in a long time. And let's see, lead acid batteries. I don't know. Yeah, hang on to them before you dispose of them. But I have a couple of them, but I don't know how big these things are. Dick, from 82 degrees to 52 degrees. Well, just don't get up too early in the morning here. This morning when I woke up, it was 36 degrees at the house. Yeah, really cold. But oh, I can tell you a little bit about Phoenix, because I was there for a while working at Williams Air Force Base. When it's hot outside, it's worth taking a towel to throw over the steering wheel on your car, because otherwise you might not be able to hold the steering wheel. And also, it's worth having a handkerchief or some kind of rag, because there have been a couple of times that I've burned my hand trying to open the car door, just with the sun beating down on it. So otherwise, stay in the air conditioning, and I actually grew to like it, but oh well. Good luck. Back to you, Dave, N7QO.
N7QO, let's go to James, WW7ATS.
A couple of neighbors that they're from Eastern Europe, and they've lived in the Pacific Northwest here, and they just sold their house down the street from me, and they're going to Arizona. And someone on our board grew up in Arizona and knows how hot it gets. And we were joking with her, was that Arizona when it was a territory or when it was a state? I'm not sure air conditioning was up to what it was supposed to be when she was a little girl. Wow, it gets hot in Arizona. And so it's kind of interesting. They think they know what they're in for as far as heat. And I remember in Houston, it was hot and humid. You just move, especially if you're in business clothes, you just have to move from one air-conditioned, place to another, which is fine until there's, which also depending on what altitude you're at in Arizona, it can actually get pretty cold. So all that works out great. It did in Texas until their cool, cheapo electrical grid system was not designed to A, borrow power from anybody else, and B, wasn't designed to get much below freezing. And then things didn't go all that great in Texas. So maybe they'll have better luck in Arizona. Reappeared on Zoom. I wanted to say, well, thank you very much for your helpful suggestions. However, I think my trees and all the other critters out in that green belt, I think they're smarter than we give them credit for. I think if you tried to assassinate one, it would go, yeah, sure, and it would just aim right for my house. We've only actually had one tree hit a unit, and that was during that, whatever we call it, typhoon or whatever it was a few years back. But man, the power of gravity, wow, it was a big tree, and it came down right into their living room. They were, I think, in the bathroom or something in the bathtub, and had that giant tree fallen in the bathroom, being in the bathtub would have been a futile gesture. It would have just smashed the bathtub like a cockroach with them in it. They're big trees. They're giant trees. They also do, the trees in particular on my southern side do give me shade, and I've managed to get by without air conditioning for all the time I've lived here, with the exception of that one where it was 106 degrees free air temperature Fahrenheit. Then I had a portable air conditioner that I just took off somebody because they were kind of desperate to have me take it away. I thought I was going to take it to the Goodwill, and I procrastinated. I am so glad I did, because it still had enough Freon in it to generate cold air, and that was a lifesaver, because this place, I mean, it was 106 degrees in the shade outside. I hope we don't have too many summers like that, but that was the only summer in all the time I've lived here I really needed to have air conditioning. Safe travels, Bert. Hope you'll check in when you can. Thank you when you do. That's fantastic. Thank you very much for the pictures of the bridge. You never know when you take pictures like that what will happen. My boss had a picture of her on a ferry, a New York Harbor ferry, with the Twin Towers in the background. And, you know, it's just a perfect picture with her and the Twin Towers. She had it up on her cube wall. And so, you know, she never would have imagined the towers would not be there anymore. I said, you know, in the far distant future, her picture will probably be famous. So with that, let me turn it back to our net controller to wrap this net up. Go ahead, take it away, Dave.
7 in, and the net needs to be wound down. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. We'd like to thank the SeaTac Repeater Association for letting us use WW7ATS repeater 147.08 for our voice transmissions during our nets held on Wednesdays and Saturdays between 8 and 9 o'clock. So on behalf of the Western Washington Amateur Television Society, this is Dave, KD7CYM, signing off the net. Good evening all at 9 o'clock.